Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are having a look at the FIREBIRDS update trailer today, and there's a lot of cool stuff in this one. Just to kind of let you know how all of this stuff goes, we have the teaser today, there's probably going to be some dev streams tomorrow, then the data mines and the dev servers the next few days. So I'll cover it all for you, so if you're interested in the new content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and we'll go through it. In this video, they show off a bunch of stuff, not just some high-tier aviation, but also some interesting little mechanics, and maybe also some changes in terms of the maps. First of all, this is, or at least looks like, Advance to the Rhine. You can see there's a little bit more detail around the areas. It might just be some additional shading, and also the lighting. That's something that's super important when it comes to War Thunder. But if you remember, in the leaks that we had, when it came to this update, they did say that they were going to be adding ray tracing. So maybe it's something to do with that and why the lighting looks so nice, because it really does. It looks fantastic. But also, these trailers usually look really good too. So maybe it's just a little bit of enhancement on the video effect end. But it's really nice to see Advance to the Rhine, and then we get onto this. So they obviously have done a few times over the last few years some massive updates to how airfields look and also what's on them, and it looks like this is an addition to that. This looks incredibly cool, and if this comes to the game in the form of it's shown, where you actually have like proper airfield setups for modern day aircraft, that is awesome. And hopefully, just like they did with stuff like aircraft carriers, where they did like the modern ones, and then they do the kind of old ones, they updated those too. It would be really nice to see them update some of the old World War II ones to make them a little bit more realistic and historical too. I know a lot of old airfields were literally, especially during the Second World War and also in Britain, were just like fields a lot of the time, which were then paved with like concrete, depending on the vehicles that were supposed to be used on them. But when it comes to specific ones and historical ones, it would be really nice to see them properly modeled. This looks fantastic. If this makes it into the game, I can't see anybody disagreeing with it. It looks absolutely beautiful. You can also see down here some interesting aircraft, can't you? Yes, that's right. There are some nice little ones coming in, and there is the opposite side, the two big bangers that are going to be coming in this update. We also have the Luchs. This is the Spahpanzer, which was leaked. It is an 8-wheeled amphibious armored vehicle, which has the gun of, I believe it's the Marder, the Rheinmetall 20 on it. So it shouldn't do a ton of damage unless they decide to give it DM63, but it will be incredibly mobile and be able to move pretty heftily around the place. It's one which I feel like, at least for me, I've looked forward to for a long time. There's a lot of really interesting German designs around like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I'm glad that we're finally getting to see them in the game now. And of course, more modern equipment as well. This is the F-15E, specifically the Strike Eagle. And this is an F-15 which is more designed to hit the ground. It will still have a lot of its air-to-air components still there, but it will have some additional weaponry on top of a really nice arsenal of air-to-air stuff. So that seems to be kind of one of the pushing forwards of this update, like more CAS in general and stuff which is more designed for the modern weaponry. So F-15E, Su-34, Tornado GR4, all of these different things. So even later on, we'll see a really cool vehicle as well. So wouldn't be surprising to see some pretty interesting, not just, aircraft, but also the munitions that they use on top of them. It's going to be a lot of new kind of like glided bombs, missiles, and all of these things as we go forward. And then we have a mirror. It's kind of hard to tell what this is, but I think it's safe to say it's the T-77, and the reason for this is, first of all, this looks like the 50 cals, but if you have a look here, you have the two kind of like glass domes, which is very synonymous with the T-77. There aren't many other vehicles that have these domes, so yeah, it's kind of weird how they decided to kind of hide this, but yeah, that's the T-77. And then the F-15, you can see here actually the different loadouts that it has access to. So there's the AMRAAMs. It looks like it can take, what, 6 of them? Sorry, not 6 of them. Yeah, 6 of them at least, because there's 4 in the center and then probably 2 on either side. Then also you have other stuff going on. You also have some more guided munitions. Not really a surprise in terms of what's there. And then, of course, something that they've added to the game a lot over the last period of time is AI, AA modern systems. We covered a few of them over the last updates, and they haven't really done anything. They've started to add them into air battles in realistic and simulator, and probably arcade too, but they don't really fire, and they're just kind of there to destroy. Okay, so they do have full damage models, meaning that you can't just, tag them like you can standard AA. You do actually have to aim for like the crew or aim for the ammunition, but it may seem, or at least it does seem, like in this update trailer, they might be coming alive. And that is interesting, because we've talked about previously about medium range AAs, we've talked about long range AAs, how would they fit in War Thunder, especially now that we have some crazy ammunition and munition choices from aircraft. They need to somehow be countered. And a lot of people have come up with the idea of obviously adding these modern systems, because that's basically what they're supposed to do, and they kind of demonstrate that here. I would honestly say it's worth watching just this part of the trailer if you're not going to watch anything else, because of the fact that it shows you how the two types of mechanics are going to intertwine, but also the sound is really cool in this area. So you have some general commentary, and this is on the RWR, or at least on the screen of the Su-34, and it shows not just the digital HUD, but also the screen lower, tells you exactly what has hit you, or what is coming for you, and also how far it is away, which is something we kind of have had already, but not to that setup. Thank you, AJ. So the other thing it also shows is they are adding the trails to the aircraft, which is, there it is. Sorry, the dog is alive and kicking. But yeah, you have the trails, which is around, and they said that they were going to add those. And the real cool thing, if they decide to like add in these digital systems, is I wonder if it will be a bigger enhancement on the kind of voice aid that you get from the Americans, from the Chinese, and from the Russians. So this guy's obviously running away from the Patriot missile, which is coming in. I feel like if they decided if they decided to just add these things all around the place, then there would be a bit of an issue with air battles, because you just have people who are just trying to hide from the AI systems. But in ground, I just wonder how they're going to add it in, how it's going to change up what's going on. Then we have a really cool vehicle. This is from South Africa. It's the Super Hind. This is a Giga Hind, is probably the best way of putting it. Imagine you take a Hind and you just add a ton of really cool South African systems and modern equipment to it. So it has a different gun on the front, a different chin mount. It also has some tons of rockets, a really interesting defensive suite, and also the Ingwe missiles, which are for South Africa, and that's it. So you can see here, it actually has the South African flag on it. So this is, the Super Hind. You can see also the countermeasures back here on this. So I'm actually really looking forward to see what goes on with this. It's just blowing up BTRs, so we already have that in the game. Doesn't really matter, doesn't change anything. But yeah, it does look really cool, and I'm looking forward to I want to see where it kind of fits, because it's one of those things which is a really nice part of history and something that is unique to South Africa. And then we have the anniversary vehicle. Oh, sorry. Shouldn't say the anniversary vehicle, okay? Because we don't know if it's the anniversary vehicle or not. But here's the anniversary vehicle. It's the KV-7 U-13. Now, the KV-7 U-13 is a KV chassis with a superstructure built on top of it, with about 100mm of armor on the front of it, and it has access to 245mm and a 76mm. So this is a assault tank, basically, that's designed to make sure that the infantry around it can be protected, so it can suppress the enemy infantry that's around, And the idea was you would do like a salvo fire. So you would fire 145, the other one, and then fire the 76. Didn't work very well. It wasn't something that really got anywhere, but it did eventually develop into some of the other systems that we see in the game, like the ISU-152, the SU-152, and also other larger gun machines, which were more designed for the role. So it's cool to see this thing. There's the Spahpanzer Luchs again, by the way, with the Rheinmetall gun and good mobility. I want to see how fast this thing is, and also like what rounds they give it, because they could give it DM43, DM63, you know, DM13. Depending on what round they give this, it could be a completely different BR. But hopefully this is one of those multi-role light vehicles where it isn't just a vehicle which is good at scouting and flanking, but also good for AA purposes, which is nice. Those types of vehicles also a lot end up really, really going up in BR over and over and over. Then we have some more glide bombs. I'm not entirely sure which one this is, but it is being dropped by a F-15, so I'm guessing it's an American one. I'm not hugely up on my glide bombs. I obviously had a look at some of the Russian ones recently, also some of the Chinese ones, but I haven't looked into the American ones yet and how they work, but I'm sure it's exactly the same as everybody else. It seems like something will always be like this, so yeah. The GBU-39, I believe it is, but I'm not entirely sure. This will be the second glide bomb we have in the game, since the JF-17 last update actually got access to them. Haven't heard anything about it, but yeah. You can see here, this is the Su-34 and all of the hard points that are on it, but you can't see any ordnance. There does seem to be different Afternburners. I don't know if they generally look like this, but you can see how beautiful they are, right? Like how blue they are. Normally they're a little bit more pink, and all of that. And also, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe there is actually a historical video that they've tried to mirror with this kind of teaser trailer, and that's kind of cool. I like how they've decided to do that. But you can see here, they're more like purpley and red and pink instead of just the way that they are. So they are slightly different. They're definitely not the same as we've seen previously. But yeah, so there you go. There goes the Patriot. The Su-34 survives once again. And yeah, the big head. Basically, if you don't know what the Su-34 is, by the way, take an Su-27 and basically make it more of like a ground pounder, like a strike aircraft. So very similar to how you have like the standard F-15, like the A and the C, and then you have the E, which is the strike aircraft version. The Su-34 is that for the Su-27. So what you'll see is more capabilities in terms of guided weaponry, guided munitions, and also other things like that, which is quite cool. And then we get a completely different part. This seems to be a recreation, once again, of Desert Storm, or at least some part of it, some area over there. One of the things that's kind of key to this, though, is I don't think this battle proper like work like this, but it is how it is. You know, the fact that they're doing a little nod to like historical stuff from the 80s and 90s and even the 2000s is really cool. And this is just the standard Abrams. You also have Bradleys in tow too. Nothing too crazy. T-62s on the flank. Watch out, guys. What are we going to do against T-62s? Don't worry, the Flyboys are here. They're annihilating them. And this is, of course, a beautiful aircraft, which I know many people have looked forward to for, well, at least a few years now. The F-117. The F-117 is here. It's ready, and it's going to be rolling. And it looks like it has targeted ordnance, which shouldn't really be too surprising. So you're looking at GBOs, you're looking at paveways, and it'll be able to hammer stuff from very high altitude. The interesting thing about the F-117 is it's, of course, a strike, well, not strike, stealth bomber, slash kind of like reconnaissance vehicle, which is incredibly different to what we've seen in the past. The thing that is a little bit odd about it is limited in terms of its weaponry and what it can carry. It doesn't really have like any guns or anything like that. It's supposed to be from high altitude and then you know, strike really low below it. So it's not going to be really fast or anything. So balancing this thing is going to be really weird in terms of how they're gonna implement it in the game. So I'm really curious to see how it works. So hopefully it goes really well. Then you have what looks like a British battleship. It looks very similar to the Barham, which we've just added in the game, but I just don't know which one it is. Like, for me, when it comes to British battlecruisers and battleships, I know the era that they're from, but I don't know specifically which one it is. So this is obviously British from the guns, because they're exactly the same, very similar to stuff like the Hood, very similar to, you know, other machines from that area. But let's be honest, at least for me, this looks like a Queen Elizabeth Class 2. This looks very similar. I'm not a naval expert in that way. I'm sure somebody else is. I would love to know what this is. So if you know what it is, comment section is waiting. Then it's just exploding B7A2s. So it's just absolutely hammering them. And look at that. Did you see that, by the way? How beautiful is that? Let's just see if I can slow it down a little bit. Look at how beautiful the mechanism is here. Oh, look at that. Isn't that wonderful? Beautiful. Absolutely stunning. The kind of animation work that happens every update in War. It's just really cool. There's another look at the KV7, the big boy, the classic. And yeah, this will be the Dreams Come True vehicle. I'll be incredibly surprised if this comes in the standard update and isn't in the setup. So it's the HMS Valiant. Oh, well, there you go. That would be fun. So the KV7, we've already talked about it, and it's not going to be the greatest vehicle, but it's really interesting. That, to me, is what is important. It's something that, you know, is in the game will be fine. It's not like it won't be, it won't be terrible. It won't be the best, but the fact that it has all these guns, the fact that it'll have an interesting little gimmick to it because of it, I think is really cool. And the KV chassis, as we all know, is a very good chassis, and the mobility of it is also very good. Which shouldn't be surprising to anybody. And then, once again, one of the last shows of the good old Afternburners, which I'm guessing kind of shows the changes they've made. It's beautiful, isn't it? And then, now, just want to remind you guys, we had a devlog today, which was about the Tornado GR4, and how the Brimstone is too overpowered because you fire out the missile. It doesn't need a lock, and then it hovers over the air. Well, it doesn't hover over the area, but it goes to the area, and then it locks on something itself and goes in. Now, this right here is a Soviet machine, or a Russian machine at this point, because it's early 2000s, I believe, with what looks like glided missile bombs, which is a incredibly modern technology that we talked about more recently, and they are locking onto several different targets which are over here and firing all at the same time. These are the Groms. So yeah, these are very powerful missiles that have an insane range. So I'm not gonna say anything, all right? I'm not going to say anything, but we all know what we're thinking. We're all there, all right? We're all in that headspace, okay? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Right. So, that's the trailer. A lot of really cool stuff, and I hope you enjoy the next few days like I'm going to. There's going to be a ton of really cool stuff, so look forward to it. We'll cover it all, as I said. Look after yourselves. Peace be with you. See you next time.